Wai limlim pipis naksil. Wai ko ulu sa panas khalakalt. Snel kain. Akhat skulst ma panas khalakalt tali khaha. Kel menimtet ikel snaksiltet ikel chitsmalatet ikel samsen am imatet lutksen liptemnam. Ichi at stiakut. Ichi snaksil hat hui. Lutkens liptemnam. Atli apanas khalkhalt wai tali chits atlat. Wai kekami miska aim. Wai kekami is tali khastis bus kanala tes nyal kain is kuist keninam tam koitstens. Wulaka skulstam wul ku kam taunina kul wulats mistim tatskakin mi kapstem khits ka ilstet. Limlam kuln chuten kan wist. I thank the Creator for allowing me to say a few words, a little prayer. My name is Wilfred Barnes. My native name is Keninam Tamtanakwaitstens. The things that we do here today is very sacred to us, our family, our kids, our grandbabies, that we don't forget. We don't forget the people that was in the war, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our free speech. All these things that we do in a good way with a little prayer, and we will continue to be doing this as long as we are here. This time of year, it's getting fall time, it's getting winter time. It's getting cold, and that snow's came already, and that's good for the land. Thank you, my relatives and my friends.
Wait, I just want to say thank you for this gathering and the remembrance of our First Nation veterans who fought for our freedoms, and also who they joined force with to protect our lands, to protect our freedoms. And this is an honorable day, and it's also a day to honor our Westbank First Nation members, who we will read their names shortly. I'd just like to say thank you, Wilfred, for opening up with that beautiful prayer. I'd like to say thank you to our elder, Pat Paul, and his wife, Diane, and Wanda, and everybody for bringing us together. I'd love to say thank you to our FNPs, our LEOs, and our British Columbia Dragoons for being here and taking part of this. Now I'd like to introduce Chief Chris Derickson to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hogaboam, and thank you all for joining us here today for this very unique commemoration of our Aboriginal veterans. You wouldn't have imagined a year ago that we'd be standing here today filming this beforehand, because we are in the midst of a global pandemic. And I think it's important time for us to remember that despite the challenges we're going through as a community, as a country, as a civilization, that these challenges of having to physical distance ourselves, wash our hands, wear the masks you see around, pale in comparison to the sacrifice that our men and women gave to fight for our freedoms and the values we share as Canadians, as Indigenous Canadians, so that we could practice our traditions, speak our languages. Our veterans gave up far more than a few social gatherings. They gave, in many cases, their lives. They gave their daughters, their sons, their mothers and their fathers, so we could stand here today and live in a free country where we can have disagreements and debates about whether or not we should wear masks, but we have the freedom to do that. So I am so grateful today standing here with those who continue to serve and choose to serve this great country, whether it be in the armed forces or the RCMP, or as our LEOs here and those who have served in the past, like our elder Pat Paul. I think we are eternally grateful to your service, and we thank you for what you do on behalf of all of us so that we can live peacefully, we can live safely. And I want to remind everybody that we need to continue to come together as a community, as a nation, as Canadians, to protect each other against this pandemic and to protect the frontline workers who are currently in the midst of their own battle. Whether they be Indigenous or non-Indigenous, we're all in this together. We are grateful, or we are fortunate to be the first generation ever in the history of the world to go this long without any major conflict. This time is our battle. This is our time to fight. And it's not against each other or some other civilization or some other country. It's against this virus. And so I hope you all have a safe and thoughtful Aboriginal Veterans Day and Remembrance Day, and that you all continue to stand together in this fight against this pandemic. White Lim Lim.
Lieutenant Colonel Mead to come and say a few words on behalf of the Dragoons. Thank you.
Good morning, elders, chief and council, veterans, members and families of the greater Westbank First Nation community. Indigenous participation in Canada's military efforts over the years has been, in a word, impressive. Determined volunteers were often forced to overcome many challenges to serve in uniform, from learning a new language and adapting to cultural differences, to having to travel great distances from the remote communities just to enlist. In fact, in World War I, more than 4,000 Indigenous people served in uniform, not the least of which was a nationally recognized contribution from the head of the Lake Band here in the Okanagan, where every man from ages of 20 to 35 joined to fight alongside their neighbors abroad. Many Indigenous soldiers brought valuable skills with them, to include patience, stealth, and marksmanship, all of which were well-honed traits for those who had come from communities where hunting was a cornerstone of daily life. These attributes helped many of these soldiers become successful snipers and reconnaissance scouts, for which at least 50 decorations for bravery were earned during World War I. This contribution continued in the Second World War, while taking on many new unique roles, one of which is more commonly known as being the code talkers. Indigenous people also contributed to the war effort on the home front by donating large amounts of money, clothing, and food, while granting the use of portions of lands to allow for the construction of new airports, rifle ranges, and defense installations. All of these that should not be forgotten. The special efforts of numerous First Nations communities from Ontario, Manitoba, and British Columbia were recognized with awarding of the British Empire Medal to acknowledge these great contributions. This contribution continued during the Korean War as well. The story of Indigenous service in the First and Second World Wars and the Korean efforts is a proud one. While exact numbers are elusive, it has been estimated that as many as 12,000 First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people served in these three great conflicts of the 20th century, with at least 500 of them sadly losing their lives. Since that time, many Indigenous soldiers have continued to serve in the Canadian Armed Forces, at home and abroad in all conflicts, from the peacemaking and peacekeeping operations of the late 90s and early 2000s to the more contemporary kinetic conflicts such as Afghanistan. As we take time to honor our forefathers who fought and shed blood together, we take special note that we served together throughout those wars together as community neighbors. We have and continue to fight on these battlefields together for those who can't fight for themselves. In closing, although we cannot gather publicly this Aboriginal Veterans Day or Remembrance Day, please make the time to reflect on those contributions and sacrifices made over the years as we serve together. Thank you.
I'll ask Councillor Jordan Coble to read the names on our, in recognition of our Aboriginal veterans. And after that, we'll do a moment of silence and then we'll place the wreaths. Thank you.
Aipis naksil, täällä limt kan skitch happen out, but yep. Just grateful to be here. I just want to pay my respects to our Aboriginal veterans and all veterans of military, of war, of violence. Before I read the names, I just want to recognize that, you know, our people have been warriors for centuries, for millennia, since time immemorial. But I want to remind us, as the Chief pointed out, that we are a community and we're here all in this together. That the best warriors of our nation were the ones that cared for each other, cared for one another, looked after the well-being of others before themselves. That's what it means to be a true warrior in our community, is that we care for one another. And if we're all looking after one another, then everyone's going to be cared for. So I just want to say thanks for the great words, Chief. Thank you very much for your attendance here and for past years and for all that you do for our country. And I want to give thanks to all those that are continuing to fight for us, for our freedoms and for our right just to be scalo. So I'm going to read the names. Joan Carrillo, Theodore Clough, Bill Derickson, Alex Eli, Thomas Eli, David Flett, Shane Hill, Thomas Koenig, Andy Mishu, John Norman Lindley, Ahmad McDougall, Dan McDougall, Ed McDougall, Fred McDougall, Jerry McDougall, Thomas McDougall, Patrick Paul, Andy Pinchpack, and Mike Watt Sr. With that, we pay our respects to our WFN veterans. White, Limlet.
Now we'll take a moment of silence. And now we'll lay the wreath, starting with our elder and veteran, Patrick Paul, followed by the British Columbia Dragoons, and a member from Westbank First Nation to lay the wreath. Could I ask Councillor Andrea Alexander to do some closing remarks, please? Thank you.
Thank you guys all for coming today to honor our warriors and veterans of our community. My grandpa's name is up there, so I just want to honor him today and think of him today as well. So thank you all for coming.
My name is Patrick Paul. I'm the elder of Westbank First Nations and a veteran. I thank you all for coming out, and for the children songs and drumming. And I made this wreath, First Nations wreath, for all our veterans that are named on this wall here. And I also made in behalf of the families that cannot make it out here and caught of this COVID-19. I was inspired by my grandfather, Angus Thompson. He served in the First World War. His name is not up there, but I was raised by him and my grandmother until I was about 10 years old, I guess. And he inspired me to, or he was my inspiration to join the Army, which I did with the 2nd Battalion Princess Patricias, and from 62 to 66. You're probably wondering what I'm carrying here. This cloth was given to me by Dinah and myself, our son, just to honor me, I guess. And so I thank him for that, and for the rest of the family, all our sons, daughters, of Dinah and myself. And I thank you all for coming out here. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from flaying hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you all for being here in honor of Aboriginal Veterans Day. I'd also like to just close with, again, for people that may not know, that we had one of our SEAL members from the Okanagan Nation, Smoker Marchand, who had put this monument together in recognition of our sisters, our brothers, our warriors. It is beautiful. Thank you.